Our last presenter of the night is Jillayne Wheeler. When Jillayne and her best friend moved into an apartment together, they began driving weekly to pick up grass-fed, unpasteurized milk from a sustainable micro-dairy farm in Chelsea. A connection from that community sparked their passion for fermenting kraut, kimchi, kombucha, kefir, yogurt, etc. Becoming aware of the value food connection holds for the earth and for her body, Jillayne now only eats meat she has sourced directly from what her brother raises or what wild game she hunts and processes herself. Please welcome Jillayne.
Thanks, Braden and Izzy, for introducing us all tonight and for all the amazing speakers. It's been such a pleasure and I've been so excited to share my experience tonight. So please join me over some red wine and liver pate that I recently prepared for my family over the previous summer. So let's jump into it. Food justice to me means restoring human harmony with food and its sources, soil, water, animals, plants, and microbiota alike. I've noticed as human energy is being reallocated towards production, human purpose is being dislocated. Our daily primitive pursuit to see food from seed or embryo to our dinner plate has been lost, and with it also our reason to value food on a spiritual level rather than just a material level. Today I've come to talk tiny about our intentions with meat. I think we first went wrong about 80 years ago when we decided meat was something we could produce. And when permitted to grow and compete within ecological tendencies, meat has and animals have the ability to regenerate our earth through whether they're wild or whether it's through sustainable practice such as rotational grazing. They actually sequester carbon and promote plant and soil biodiversity. But meat as an industry reflects the story of production, something I consider the antithesis of harmony. Here, cheapness and convenience have erased connection, and we don't think twice about the fact 35% of the nation's meat is thrown in the trash, or that you can no longer walk into a grocery store and buy shrimp that hasn't already been beheaded. So, as many others have in this new wave of vegetarianism and veganism, last year I too found myself seeking a more harmonious diet. One where we forget this narrative that the animals we raise can no longer regenerate our earth. I'd like to share a really personal experience that illuminates a new way about thinking about sustainable and intentional diet. So please join me. Though I had shot and killed times before, until last November, my mind did not host a consciousness I believe justifies taking another life out of another being. I remained fixated. Rather than obsessing whether I missed my target, missed my opportunity to score a big buck, I humbly beseeched that I place a lethal shot through the heart for the most humane death possible. My brother Joey climbed down a stand a couple thousand feet southwest of me, and we successfully tracked the buck. I canonized his body and spirit, squatting down to stroke his thick brown coat. I further leaned down to kiss the place where his two antlers met his skull. My two brothers pulled him through the swamp to our yard. I insisted in the past that I feel dress my next sacrifice myself. So Joey handed me his knife and guided me through the process, where to begin, what to watch out for, and how to position. Before I began, I took a moment to close my eyes and center myself in gratitude and meditate on the connection between the deer and myself. I remember it wasn't an especially cold day, but I swear I still didn't smell a thing. There were more important sensory matters to claim my attention. I began by pinching the skin around the genitals, much like a mother holds a kitten by the skin of the neck. Then I made a circular cut around the anus, removed the genitals, and freed the lower intestine. Next, I made a shallow incision through the layers of skin, fat, and abdominal wall near the same region, and I was careful not to puncture any bowels. almost December, I was cutting through about half an inch of thick white fur. And as I was making my way up the midline with my blade, I decided to stop at the breastbone and my momentum, because if I were to cut through the sternum, I would not be using my force in a way that coincided with my demeanor towards the animal. I slowly worked along the insides of the rib with the tip of my knife and removed the diaphragm from its cavity walls. Knowing what I had to do next, I rolled my sleeves up as far past my elbows as I could. And then in one of the most spiritual acts of my life, I reached my left arm up into his throat to locate his smooth, rigid windpipe. And I was fully aware of the heat moving from his body to mine. With his trachea taut in my grip, I followed with my right hand and severed his trachea to completely free the entrails. After a swift movement, I laid the intact chain of works aside and marveled at the function of the sequence. Clutching my knees to focus myself, I watched steam rise into the air from the rainbow spectrum of organs that breathed this beautiful animal to life for 3 years. I imagined his spirit returning to the wind that brought it both protection and vulnerability during its lifetime. That evening, I focused special attention in the cleaning of the heart and liver. I remember standing in front of the sink as I let the water run carelessly from the faucet directly down the drain, just absolutely stunned by this liver I was holding in both my hands. The shade of a plum from its wax bloom skin to its deep purple interior. It was plump like one too. I ran water through the arteries until the excess blood completely washed away. Then I packaged portions of these organs into freezer bags that I could share as gifts to loved ones, or in the dead of winter, retrieve to nourish myself. This was the moment I decided to only consume meat that my family or I have sourced ourselves. Thank you.